Pat Miller, our running mate. No matter how many times she tries to avoid saying, we are doing this, she always goes, look, they're doing this for you. Look, you're doing this. Look, you're doing that. I keep saying, no, no, no. It's we. Kemosabe. That's
yeah,
right.
That's what he calls me.
Thank you all very much for joining us. This has been the most exciting couple of weeks, really. Most amazing couple of weeks. Last night, there was a big event here in Colorado with Hugh Hewitt and
Your buddy Carl Rove.
Carl Rove. Now, we were a little bit concerned. We were a tiny bit concerned about what was going to happen at that event, because, as you may know, neither one of those two guys have been extremely excited about my race, and so I just didn't want them to say anything bad. You know, that it's okay, just shut up, don't say a word, it's all right. And so today I'm on the radio doing a radio show, Mike Boyle's show, the restaurant show, and he says, I was at the event last night, this big event in Douglas County with Carl Rove and Hugh Hewitt. And I said, oh, really? Isn't that interesting? And he goes, gosh, you wouldn't believe. He said, Mike Coffman got up and said the most wonderful things about you. And it was in response to a question from Hugh Hewitt, like, hey, what do you think about this Tancredo thing? And I'm going to ask you to come up here and say what you said. This is Mike Coffman. Live.
I can tell you that in my time in politics, and there have been a lot more of it than a lot of people would want in this state, I've never been more passionate about a candidate than Tom Tancredo for governor at this time in our state's history, because I really think, and we are in a very difficult position, and a lot of families are hurting across the state, and it's going to take some bold leadership to move us forward. And I know that John Hickenlooper will not offer that leadership. And I know that Dan Mays, God bless him, doesn't know enough to know where to start. And but I was asked a question last night, and I Hugh Hewitt, because of his immigration policy and differs with Tom and Carl Rove, who's now the born-again conservative, but where was he during the Bush administration when he was guiding the president in the wrong direction? But I was asked the question. He goes, well, what do you think about Tom Tancredo? And I said, in 2005, 2006, when the Republican Party, the Republican establishment in Washington, D.C. really went south on the conservative values that they campaigned on, that they abandoned. That there was one member of Congress that did not, a Republican, that wouldn't stand with them, but stood for principles and stood for the conservative principles that I think that Colorado and this country so desperately need. It's really incumbent upon all of us to get out and work in that extra mile, because I just think that the stars are kind of aligning here, and I really think that we have an opportunity to break all political tradition and get somebody elected that will actually make a difference in the lives of so many in our state. And so we're so blessed right now to have Tom Tancredo step forward and run for governor. And I'm just excited to be here and to support him and Pat Miller, who I worked with as a state representative and who I know will make a great lieutenant governor for the state of Colorado.
I have something I just want to read to you. I mean, not going to be all of this, don't worry. But just a few words. Where's Mr. Johnson? There he is. Mr. Johnson here has a blog it's called The Business Word. And a short time ago, he interviewed a guy by the name of David Flaherty. Now, Mr. Flaherty is the head of Magellan. Magellan is a polling company here in Colorado that has done really good work, and is, because it's in Colorado, it's had a much better track record than most other organizations that are not headquartered here. And in this interview with Mr. Flaherty, it starts out, this is Mr. Flaherty's quote after looking at this race very, very closely. Tom Tancredo will become Colorado's next governor. And Mike, and Republicans will take over the state's legislature. Now, he goes on to say something very important for us this evening, okay? Very important. He says, quote, "I do believe that Tom Tancredo is going to win." Flaherty declared, "In recent polls, Tancredo has about 73% of the Republican voters." Flaherty thinks Tancredo will wind up with over 80% of Republicans. It may be in the low 80s, he said. Now, I'll tell you guys, if we do that, if we end up with 80% of the Republican voters in this state, we have won this race. Right. Right now, Pat and I are beating Hickenlooper by 10 points in the unaffiliated. 10 points ahead in unaffiliated. We have about between 8 and 11%, we keep getting different reports, between 8 and 11% of the Democrats voting for us. So it's the Republican vote. That's why it is so crucial that you do everything you can because it's just getting the Republicans to say, oh, okay, I understand, I can vote for somebody other than a Republican and still be okay. You know, the world will not end, and as a matter of fact, it'll be a better place for all of us. So good, because I kept thinking, you know what? All of these problems, all these things that are bugging me, you know, and I think, how do I deal with that and that and that and that? In a way, all of them are they're not problems. They are opportunities. We can use these things. We can use the deficit. We can use all of the demands on our state government that we can't provide under the current system without raising taxes, and we're not going to raise taxes or fees on anything, okay? But now, I make that promise to you, and you see, then it immediately sets up a whole bunch of challenges, right? You're not going to raise taxes? Okay, as they ask me in every debate, then how are you going to deal with education funding and K-12 and Medicare, all this rest of the stuff? Well, we've got, if you think about it, it all turns into an opportunity. The opportunity is this, that we have a chance for the first time in certainly my recollection, to actually shrink the size of government. This is not wonderful? This is a great opportunity. That is the first thing every liberal looks for. Anytime you say, we're having a problem, higher ed needs money, K-12 needs money, you go, well, gee, where are we going to get it? Right? Well, there's no place else to go, gang. There's no place else. We have taken money from every cash fund, from all the federal funds. There's nowhere else to go. Right. Exactly. Good, because you know what it'll do? It will force us to do things we never, ever would have been able to do before. And I can't wait. And if you don't believe we can do this, just watch me.